Hello, everybody. Here we are again for another edition of Beneath Your Feet. My name is Shoreless. I'm so glad you're here today. First of all, let me know how the sound's going. Last few times I've streamed, the sound's been kind of wacky. Either my voice is too loud, or it's picking up my laptop fan, or whatever. It's just unpleasant. We strive to have the highest quality here on the LOTRO stream for y'all. How's everybody doing? What's up? So, if you are new, this is the Beneath Your Feet podcast. This is the research stream for the Beneath Your Feet podcast, which is a show I do about every month. It's been going for quite a while, off and on, really since like 2011. All right, Al Galadwin is here. How are you now? Thanks for letting me know about the sound. I appreciate that. And what we do each and every month is we get a little bit of research done for the show. And on my podcast, we pick a different theme or a different region in Middle-earth, and we explore it. We talk about the geography, the history, the sociology, the epistemology, the ecumenology, the geology, the culinariology. We talk about all the ologies, and we have a good time and learn a little bit more about Middle-earth, this Middle-earth that we love so very, very well. Tonight, I am here live on the wonderful Landry server, which has been real fussy today. I don't know why. I've been getting like brutally crappy frame rates today, so I don't know what's going on. So I apologize in advance for this thing not looking the way it's exposed to look. Let's try dropping the quality there. Also, we're in Minas Tirith Midsummer, which I think we can all agree is not the easiest for any setting, at least until they convert this to the Unreal Engine. But they're never going to do. They're never going to do that. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. Druid's Fire, if you're listening, please don't kill me. I'm sorry. But what are we doing tonight? Well, we are speculating, my friends. We are speculating because I got an email this week. I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. This is summertime. I'm already tired. It was the first day at the pool, and I was like already dying. It was about like 2 hours at the pool today with my kids, and I was just like ready to go to the ER. I was so tired. I was like, man, maybe I should cancel. But then I got an email from Bjorman, who, Bjorman, if you haven't, you need to check him out right now. He's got a great YouTube channel. In fact, he is linked below, so you can go and check him out as soon as you like. He does some pretty cool videos. Oop, that's definitely not the correct link. Let's try that again. There we go. This is the correct link. So anyway, he sent me an email. He wanted to collab and do something together. So he sent me a script that he had made about his speculation about the future of the Lord of the Rings Online. Where might the next big expansion be? And he's like, let's do something together, because he and we chatted a little bit in the past. I think he used some of my stuff about the Brawler to make a Brawler video, and we thought about it. We tossed some emails back and forth, and we landed on he's going to do a video about where he thinks the Lord of the Rings Online is going next, and I'm going to do a video or podcast about where I think the Lord of the Rings Online is going to be going next. And we're just going to kind of credit each other for the idea and, you know, hopefully build our channels a little bit and do a little cross-promotion action. And it should be a good time. So that leads us to the big question for tonight. Where could the Lord of the Rings Online go next? So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, we've got two spoilers coming up. Number one, we got spoilers because I'm going to be going through some high-level parts of the Lord of the Rings Online. We're going to be talking about some higher-level story content. So if you're just getting started, if you're one of these newcomers to the Lord of the Rings Online, first of all, welcome aboard. I know we had quite the influx of new and returning players with Update 33 and the monetization changes and things of that nature. So if you are newish, I want you to hang around. I want you to hang out with me and talk to me and, you know, party and get to know each other. But I don't want you to get too many spoilers. Second spoiler is I'm going to tell you a little bit about what Bjorman's video is going to be about in 3 seconds. There we go. You got to stay hydrated. So his video, his speculation is that LOTRO is going to Harad next. So let's talk about that for a second. And I'll talk about why I don't think that that's correct. Here we are in Minas Tirith. I'll tell you why in just a second. He is speculating that we are going to be moving southwards. So the most recent expansion, of course, was up here in Gundabad, which was an extension of Elderslade, which came up from the Wells of Langflood, which itself tied into the Minas Morgul story. Minas Morgul is, of course, over here. That was the 2019 expansion, and then last year, 2021, the last big expansion was Gundabad. And so his thought is that we are moving towards Harad. And he gives a few reasons for this. I won't steal any of his thunder. But his thought is that we are going to be heading down to... Get out of here. Down to Harad, to southern Gondor, and then on down into Harandor, and then all the way to the lands of Harad. Possible. We've seen quite a few Haradrim, especially here in Gondor, as we defended Gondor from the incursions of the Easterlings and the Corsairs of Umbar and the armies of Mordor and all that stuff. We faced the half-trolls of Harad especially. Those were especially memorable for me anyway. And we beat them back just barely at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. I don't think that's where we're going. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about my own speculation and where we're going to go. First of all, we're here at Midsummer Minas Tirith, and the reason why we're starting here is because the story, the point of the story at which we are in, as it pertains to the book, is Aragorn and Arwen have just been married. Prior to that, Aragorn was made king. I don't believe we saw the coronation scene. Maybe we did and I missed it. Maybe part of me thinks it was tied to the faction, the allegiance thing in Mordor. Maybe you saw it there. I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me out. Have we seen the coronation scene for Aragorn in LOTRO? Is that correct or not? Anyway, the last time we checked in with the Fellowship was here in Gondor in Minas Tirith in Midsummer. And we got to experience the wedding. We had it was really, honestly, it was a very moving finale to the epic story, even though it's not the end of the epic story. That's okay, Algalwin, thank you. It was really kind of a fitting and moving end to the epic story, even if it wasn't the end of the epic story, because we got to see our buddies. We had a toast with our ranger friends who we'd been through so much with, from Angmar all the way to Pelennor. We get to see Bjorn. We get to talk to the Fellowship and catch up with everybody. Of course, there's the wedding itself, which was a very sweet and special moment. I still got Bjorn's thing up there. Y'all got to let me know, man. It was a very cool moment. And so we are really at the beginning of King Elisar's reign as the king of the reunited kingdom of Gondor and Arnor. And as we know from the appendices, Elisar has a pretty astounding career. He really is like the return of the pure Númenóreans in terms of his greatness and his nobility. And he has a very illustrious reign. He's got his half-elf wife, and they have a kid who becomes the king. And he reunites northern and southern kingdoms. He rekindles the friendship with Rohan. He heads to the east and to the south, and he subdues the lands, and he conquers he retakes Umbar, and he makes peace with Harad, and all these things like that. So we can really go in any direction. So it would make sense to go to Harad. Maybe, King Elisar needs some help. He's ready to make moves down there. Maybe we're scouting things out. I think that makes less sense to me than some of the other options we're going to talk about. So let's start by heading to actual after battle Minas Tirith.
Needs your aid.
Can you get to Minas Tirith? Oh my gosh, I'm so unprepared tonight. Minas Tirith. Yeah, this is it. After battle. Okay. So that brings me to another point. Whenever we talk about this kind of thing with the Lord of the Rings Online, is that time is of no import here. Time does not matter here, because as we know, the wedding is at Midsummer. It's Midsummer of 3019 of the Third Age, and by March of 30. Wait, have I got that right? March 3019. And so by the end of the summer in 3019, we were supposed to be back in the Shire, and yet somehow is a war being prosecuted in Elder Slade and Gundabad, and we're participating in that, and the time doesn't matter. I think the devs, Native Lions is the lead lore guy. I think they've specifically said even that there is like a literal pause button when they're telling these stories. So everything I'm about to say doesn't matter too much in terms of the timeline itself. It's just kind of my take on it. So here we are in Minas Tirith after the battle. After the midsummer wedding, the way the story goes is the Fellowship lingers in Minas Tirith for a little while, and then when we get to the chapter called Many Partings, it's a play on many meetings, everybody leaves Minas Tirith. Obviously, it doesn't look like this. It looks more like the midsummer version. And they leave as a great caravan. It's the Fellowship with the remaining members of the Fellowship. It is the Rohirrim. It is the House of Elrond. Who else is in there? Galadriel, the Galathrim. Everybody's in there. It's a big procession. And they start by going to Rohan. And we're going to start heading in that direction, actually, because my plan is to go all the way. And we'll see if we can make that happen or not. They go to Rohan first to peace out Éomer. And I think that's when Faramir and Éowyn get married. And then they keep moving on from there. So, if we are picking up the story, and here's the thing, we somehow shoehorn our characters into absolutely every moment of the story, which I love, even when it's absurd and ridiculous. And so it makes sense to me that we would kind of be pacing along with all these guys, with Gandalf and the Fellowship and Elrond and all them, pacing along with them as kind of an epilogue. And so that's my thought. That's where I think we are going next. We're going to follow that Many Partings chapter. We're going to go from Minas Tirith through Rohan, up and beyond to all the other places we're going to explore today. And eventually resting in Rivendell, and then back to the Shire for the scouring of the Shire. Easy for me to say. So that's my thought. That's our plan for tonight. We're going to explore some of these areas and take quite a long journey and see what we can see as it pertains to that Many Partings chapter. That's my first thought. Because scour that shower. The scouring of... Man, I need to... Never mind. I'm going to set an alarm. I need to scour my shower. It's a little dirty. So that's my speculation. It makes sense. Maybe we would go to Harad because we want more action. But I have a feeling, it's just a thought, just a guess. I don't work for SSG. I don't know what's going on. But I have a guess that we want to start moving. Oh, can I really not go this way? Oh, you got to be kidding me. So the way this time warp thing is, you can't actually go to Rohan after the battle. So we're gonna cheat just to save you guys from looking at me blundering around. And I'm just going to zap over to Old Anorian before the battle. To Grethos. Let's just do that. Alright, so anyway. This is before the battle. That's how we actually get to Rohan. So it makes sense that we would want to jump in and, get into the great adventures of King Elisar. Because we are role players and video gamers, and we crave action.
How may I help
Makes
you,
sense.
friend?
But I have a feeling, it's just wild speculation on my part, that they may want to wrap up the book first. Because if we do the book 5, epic book 5, it's book volume 5, which is what Midsummer Wedding starts, it takes us through the Many Partings chapter to Rivendell, then to the Scouring. I said that right this time, the showering of the scour. And this is Gilead. Not Gilead, what's the island? Anyway, in case you're your first time joining us, I say this is the Beneath Your Feet research stream. It's really just the ADHD tour de force. So we go through the scouring, and the reason why I think we're going to hit the scouring of the showering is because I think it was set up really well in Yondershire. Now, they set up stuff 10 years on. So just the fact that we get a little sampling of the scouring of the Shire, the showering of the scour, in the new Yondershire zone, doesn't guarantee that they're headed in that direction. But it does make at least a little bit of sense to me. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Alright, so we got a long journey ahead of us. I think I'm going the right way. We're going to cut up through Old Anorian, around the Beacon Hills, into Rohan, and kind of follow the path of that chapter I keep referencing, Many Partings. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. What do you all think? Where are we going next? We got Gundabad. They've announced absolutely nothing about upcoming expansions. The only nugget, the only morsel we've had was lead designer, or executive producer, whatever his title is, Reninia, has said they had a pitch meeting and everybody in the studio pitched them ideas for stories that they could tell in LOTRO, and they have enough content to get them through 15 years of stories and expansions. That's what he said. So we could literally be going anywhere. They could be like, guess what? We're gonna go on the ocean. We're going back in time to Numenor. So what do you all think? We could be going anywhere. Galdwin says Rune. That makes sense to me. Now let's talk about Rune for a second. So Rune, we got to go to Mordor. Rune is over here. That makes sense to me. That was going to be the next thing I was going to say. So let's see. We get a little sampling of Rune in the Great River region. Golly. Over here in the Brownlands. That's when we were first introduced to the Easterlings. And that guy who's in the Black Book story, Eorzin, who was an Easterling general, who, I don't know, you guys, I can't remember, was he captured? He was captured in Mordor, and we freed him, and he like struck a deal with us. And he ends up being a big part of the Black Book of Mordor, Minas Morgul storyline. Great character. And through him, we learn a lot about how, and it's really a big play off of the line that Faramir has when the Haradrim is killed and falls off the Oliphant. And Faramir says, I wonder if he really wanted to go to war, was he really evil at heart? So we get this whole story through Eorzin about how the Easterlings were basically coerced into fighting for Sauron. It ties into this plague storyline in Mordor where we learn that, I can't remember the character's name, but there's a character in Mordor who concocts this big plague that we have to stop her from sending everywhere. And he says that she used her plague abilities, whatever, her plague magic, on the people of Sweet Lara. Yeah, oh my gosh, isn't that such an eerie storyline, Sweet Lara? So we get this whole terrible story from him about how Variag, the East was totally ravaged by Mordor. And the Easterlings would look kind of like this. Khand, the Variags come from Khand, which is not the same as Rune, but it's a similar faction. So yeah, I think Rune is a huge possibility. Just the Easterlings in general, which could include, let's see. Let me get my map on here. So Rune, Khand, yeah, so Rune would be here. The Variags come from down here, but I think most people have speculated that it's similar culturally to the Easterlings of Rune. And then, of course, yeah, he does have a sweet mask, a little Bjorn, not Bjorn. What's this? Oh no, am I stuck? Why am I stuck? What have I done? Am I disconnected? What happened? Okay, so it's Landerval, not me. More time for me to talk. There we go now. So, anyways, what was I saying? We also get the huge influx in the stories of the sort of refugees, the Easterling refugees, when we go to the Iron Hills. Look at that, I have no horse. What a miraculous hobbit I am. Ridiculous. Wow, this is like Angmar. You ever go to West Angmar and it just lags out completely like this? Ridiculous. I wonder what that is. You know what that is, Galadwin? You are wise. Is that like a server issue? A client issue? This is just amazing. Uh-oh. Did we crash? Wowie zowie. That was amazing. Alright. Anyways. We're way off track. What I was saying was the Iron Hill storyline. Yeah, this is crazy. This is just terrible. Whatever. In the Iron Hills, there's this whole storyline about the dwarves over there, and the Easterling men are all basically fleeing westwards because of something terrible that happened. I think it's related to the plague that Eorzen talks about. There's also some kind of like catastrophic earthquake which brings the Zelruka dwarves over, which it knows. So they're all coming that way. So Rune makes sense to me. All my babbling boils down to that. Rune could be a huge possibility because they've really set it up. That said, they've also set up a lot of stuff. Like, we keep finding these giant cave claws, and we find all this nameless stuff that they keep setting up, and I really hope they expand upon that. Like, I just... when I mentioned on Twitter how I did the Den of Puglok again today, and even at the end of that, it says, was this a shrine of the Nameless? So we've gotten so many hints with the Nameless. So that's another possibility too. And maybe it ties into the Easterling stuff and Rune. I don't know. So Rune is a distinct possibility. The Easterlings are well established. And there's the whole issue of the Blue Wizards. In the Brownlands, which I mentioned, there is what do they call them, like the Blue Cast or something like that. So they've been dropping hints along the way about the influence of the Blue Wizards, who we know from the books fell pretty hard into folly. And so that'll be very interesting to see if they get brought in somehow. So Rune is my second choice if we don't do what I'm describing now. All right, so that's Rune. What do the rest of you think? Where are we going next? Let me check the map, make sure I'm going the right way. I'm not even on the map. The world. There we go. Okay, so yeah, we just follow the road. Bonk. This is a great area. I don't think I've been through here on this character. I did, I'm trying to remedy the fact that all my achievements are spread out over like dozens of characters. That's why I'm so focused on the Treebeard server. So I definitely did this area on my Bjorning. I don't think I did it on my Burglar here. There is that the Argonath? Or the Falls of Rauros? Let's see. It is. Those are the Falls of Rauros. Coincidentally, the Falls of Rauros is a great Canadian black metal band, if that's your thing. Alright, so Rune is a distinct possibility. Harad, maybe, I don't know. But I'm sticking with my story. So the way it goes is the Fellowship and all of our friends leave Minas Tirith sometime after the wedding. It's like a month or something, I can't remember. I think the book specifies. And they head along this, I believe, this exact path that we are following through the Beacon Hills. And it is a twofold thing. Within the context of the story, it serves as a goodbye to all these characters we've come to know, because as the story progresses, these different groups split off from the pack. So starting with the Rohirrim, they leave in Edoras, Éomer, Éowyn, I believe Faramir as well. They take the body of Theoden, which that always kind of weirded me out. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that, but the fact that it was like several months, maybe even not 6 months, but at least 3-4 months after his death that they moved Theoden's body from Minas Tirith to be buried in the mounds of Munberg is a little weird. I don't know. Maybe there's some Gondorian embalming technique that I'm not aware of that preserved his body, so they didn't have like a melting corpse that they were hauling all these leagues to back to Rohan, but I don't know. So the Rohirrim stop at Edoras, and then they keep going up through Isengard and Dunland, and that's the point at which the Galathrim break off, and they go over, if I remember correctly, they go over the Redhorn Pass back to Lothlorien, and then everybody heads to Rivendell, and then from Rivendell back to the Shire, which eventually leads us to the showerings of the scouring of the Shire, and from there on to the conclusion at the Grey Havens. So, So, like I said, we say goodbye to these characters, and then also it's kind of a space in which Aragorn can peruse his kingdom and announce his reign, which would have been important in such a time as that, because this is, a magical world, but it is essentially medieval Europe, and so you didn't have the internet, and so it was important for him to kind of go forth and establish himself as the king. Now, that said, that brought me to another idea that maybe I'm wrong. Here's why. What's up, guys? There's a lull of how many years? It's like 10 years, 20 years. How long is it between the Scouring and the Grey Havens? It's at least 10 years, right? Because Sam has a couple of kids. Maybe it's not that long. I can check the books later. So here we are in Rohan. Here we go now. Eastfold. Let me check the map here, then I'll continue my ramblings here. Okay, so we're here. We're going to cut all the way across just to... Yeah, we don't need to go into the eastern Rohan. Alright, so it'll be good to get on the road, though. Get off the road! Ooh, road's this way. It's also a way for me to catch up on some stable masters I missed on this character. So there's a lull of several years between the Scouring and the departure of people at the Grey Havens. And so maybe it doesn't make sense for them to do this next. Because it would really dead end the story. Again, we're just speculating. It doesn't matter, but I'm really trying to think this thing through. So if we go through the Many Partings chapter, we go through all these spots, we follow this path all the way to Rivendell, and then maybe even back through the Shire, through the South Farthing, then, that's a good stopping point until we get to the point at which we're ready to say goodbye. So part of my point was that it would be cool for them to press on and wrap up the story, and we get our little Grey Havens epic, and to really conclude the books. And so we're done with the books, bing, bang, boom, and now we're ready to tell our own stories, which we've really been doing since the Mordor expansion. There was the Midsummer, and then that's about it, right? Like from Pelennor and the Mordor expansion, it's been Standing Stone Games' own lore. Like, we haven't done anything from the books except for the wedding, if I'm not mistaken. So in my mind, it makes sense for them to just wrap it up, put a bow on it. But maybe it doesn't line up with the storyline. But time is also irrelevant. So it could be. The other reason why, here we are, coming up on Edoras in the Eastfold. I want to get on a straight course here. Then I'm going to pull my map back up. The other reason why I'm thinking South Farthing and the Scouring might be the way to go is because, and again, pure speculation on my part, is because Scenario did drop the hint that they are thinking about / working on premium Hobbit housing. So we have our premium dwarf housing in Erebor, Rohan, and Gondor for premium housing. So we have no South Farthing here. Maybe another reason why they could possibly do the South Farthing or the Scouring is because they, maybe they want to sneak a little premium Hobbit village into that part of the world. I don't know what premium Hobbit housing could look like, but I bet it's going to be amazing. So that's another reason, maybe why they'll do South Farthing, but I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Some of the stories in Yondershire would definitely lead to the Scouring because, again, spoiler alert, but that whole storyline, we get a lot of cute, little slice of life stories, which I absolutely adore, and I would genuinely play a whole game that was just that if I could. But their sort of quote-unquote epic story, besides Bingo and the Boffins, is Fatty Bolger kind of setting himself up as a resistance leader against Lotho. And Lotho's been, as we all know, is a no-goodnik. And the story there is that he is already buying up all the land and bringing in ruffians. He's turning some of the bounders towards basically buying them off, messing with the quick post and all that stuff. And so he's sort of seizing power there in Yondershire, as he will continue to do so as a proxy for Saruman, as we know. So yeah, I think the Yondershire totally sets up Scouring. But again, time is irrelevant, so who knows? They could be like, oh yeah, we're setting it up, but then they do it like, 5 years from now or whatever. As an aside, I absolutely love Rohan. It's so big and expansive and crazy. Like, you can see... I mean, you can see the homesteads there, but you can kind of see the downs in the distance. We got the White Mountains are over here. It's just so good. And they pulled it off without a lot of lag. Like, we all like to whine, myself included, about Minas Tirith because it's such a drain on the system. And somehow they pulled off these really big, expansive vistas without this ancient engine absolutely nuking our poor computers. Yeah, dude. Galad's one talking about the music and the skies here. It's perfect. I remember getting just chills the first time we came to Rohan because it had that that kind of violin music. It was just so perfect. Oh, sorry. We're going to have to leave you. Oh my. Just a little roadside massacre. No problem. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. We got a show to do. You'll have to fend for yourselves. There's Edoras. Yeah, my laptop's been getting so warm lately. I don't know if it's just the summer months or the old girl's taking a turn for the worse, but it is no bueno. So I'm thinking about saving up for a Steam Deck. Anybody got a Steam Deck? I saw one video where dude was playing LOTRO on a Steam Deck, and I was sold. There's the Kingstead neighborhood that everyone likes, that some people have a problem with. I think it looks beautiful. So we're not going to really linger here at Edoras because we do have a long way to go. And it's already 9:30, so we may have to do some teleporting around. But this would be the point at which the Rohirrim contingent would break away from the train that has been leaving, that has left Minas Tirith. And then, of course, the Mounds of Munberg are over here on the western side. Excuse me, that's the eastern side, which we're about to pass through right now. I'm going to go... Yeah, we'll go around it. And so there, I could see us doing an instance with Theoden's burial, helping Aemir get set up, kind of pausing there. And they do like to do that. They do like to kind of drag out the epic story like that. So it's another reason why I think it makes sense that they would do that, because you could have like kind of periodic stops from here and then Isengard, as we're about to see, and so on and so forth. So maybe not a big expansion. Maybe the next updates will kind of take us through that particular story. But I don't know. So I think once we get to Isengard... Well, we'll see what happens when we get there. I do have a house in Kingstead. Man, it is nice, but I just never use it. I don't know why. Alright, any other takers? Here's the Mounds of Munberg. There we go. This is where Theoden would be buried. Alright, so any other takers? Any other bets on where we're going to be next? Yeah, I was wrong. It's over there. We've said Rune. We've said South Farthing / Scouring. Showering of the Skyer. Any other takers out there? Come on, you know you love to speculate. Let's hear it. Nobody's going to judge you. Where's Helm's Deep? We're not quite there yet, are we? So man, if y'all missed it, I've been super hooked on the brawler. Like for some reason last month I just got obsessed. I don't know what it was. Well, actually no, I know exactly what it was. So when we had the big gift drop last month with update 33, or was that this month? My goodness. We all got those tasty level boosts, and so I used it to bump brawler. I was torn. I was like, man, a guardian sounds good. I've always wanted to play a guardian, but like I never want to level them up because they're kind of low DPS, which is not great for landscape. So I was torn between those two, and we already have 2 guardians in our kinship on Treebeard. So I said, all right, I'm gonna jump in and give the brawler a try. Man, I'm hooked. It's so fun and so ridiculous. Like I've been poo-pooing the Runekeeper since 2008 because it just is too flashy for me. Brawler is easily as much or more of a lore break, but it doesn't fit into the Lord of the Rings. But for some reason, I just love it. And man, I got really hooked on the mechanics of it and the different builds and the LIs, skill rotations and things like that. And dude, it is so fun. It's so absurd and fun. So that's what I've been doing last month, is trying to make sure everyone's shipshape on Treebeard as we move towards the Mirkwood expansion. The Siege of Mirkwood is dropping next month on the Treebeard server. And then that really includes my brawler. One disappointing thing, I don't know why they did this. One disappointing thing was that brawlers do not have a standard Moria set. The only level 60 armor set they have comes from Lothlorien, which is fine, but it's a pain because I've got like 80 million Moria medallions, which you can barter for Lothlorien medallions, but that only gets you a 3-piece set from the from the Lothlorien city. So you have to run Darnarbagood, and man, Darnarbagood is hard. Like there's a good raiding kin, an efficient raiding kin on Treebeard, and so they can kind of carry me through, and I've gotten pretty good at tanking it. But oh my gar, that is a nasty, unfortunate mess, and I forgot how much I don't care very much for raiding. Because it's a time sink, and then the fact that it's always random. I think I kind of got spoiled, because the last time I got really into raiding was with Rimmerkant. I guess that would be 2 years ago now. And you're always guaranteed a piece of gear, so we would just grind and farm the first boss, because you would at least get a piece of gear. Even if it wasn't something you needed, you still got something. But with Darnarbagood, and I think with most raids since then, I think HH is the same way. Or the Frozen Horde of whatever it is called, the new raid. I think it's all that way where you have to get the token and it's random. And oh my gar, I cannot stand that. But anyway, that's what I've been up to. All right, so we are passing lovely Helm's Deep. Beautiful this time of year. And we are about to... I can't remember if we can actually make it through the gap. I think we can make it through the gap of Rohan. On our way to Isengard. So I can't recall from the books if what happens if anything happens when they pass Helm's Deep, because I don't think it's manned at this point. I think at this point Rohan has been tidied up, because as I talked about this in the last Rohan episode I did, even during the Pelennor, I think it's Elfhelm, after the battle, takes a bunch of Rohirrim and they have to go and really sort of tidy up Rohan, because there's still stray orc bands roving around, because they circumvented those bands by going through the Druidan forest. And so there's still lots of orcs pillaging, and so they have to go back and tidy up. So I don't know if that's mentioned or not in the Many Partings chapter, but it is, seems like it would be important. Maybe Erkenbrand is there or something like that. So maybe we would stop, pay our respects to Erkenbrand, see how Rohan is going, maybe even experience a little phasing, maybe that nastiness that we just pulled through, maybe that's been tidied up in the month since the battle. That would be a nice little plus, nice little addition. All the burning can go away now that the war is over, and the Rohirrim have had some time to, take these cages full of skeletons down. That could be cool. I don't know how the technology would work. I really wouldn't like another layer or instance of the Fords. But I would rather have an instance than go through the fields of death every time we come through here. So that would be cool. I think that's another point in favor of reviewing these areas as the next expansion, because it'll just give us a lot to see and remember, reflect on, and just to see them in a cleaner light. Because at the end of, like, these, technically these should be gone, because after the battle, I think Elfhelm and Erkenbrand actually make cairns. Or was it? Oh no, maybe it wasn't. As I said, I'm not prepared for this stream. I should have my book in front of me. So I think there was a point at which they tidy up the fords, and it says specifically in the book that they built the piles, the cairns, to honor the bodies of the fallen Rohirrim. I'll have to look it up. Not really doing a lot of research on this research stream. So anyways, I think it would be cool to see that. And it would be nice to see these areas in more of an idyllic, aesthetic than the sort of war-torn aesthetic that we're used to. I mean, these fields have been on fire since 2012. Come on. Ready for a break. And, all right, so we have departed. I guess I better check my map. Oh, boy. We're way off course. So in the story, we would... I don't feel like we are, though. I'm such a mess. In the story, we would have said goodbye to the Rohirrim. Yep, we're going the right way. And we would have stopped here. So, to pay our respects to Saruman. Do bear in mind, I have a whole episode about Dan Kurinir. Putting that out there, little name drop. Still such a cool image here. This is, I think it was 2014, 2012. I can't remember. There's a whole storyline here with the Dunlendings fleeing Isengard. We haven't been here in years, at least 10 years, and it still looks amazing. So this would be our next stop. We check in with Treebeard. We have a little chat with Saruman and Wormtongue. And then we turn around and we head back up into Dunland. And then from Dunland all the way up the road to Rivendell. And of course, oh, no. I'm sorry. I'm getting my stories all mixed up. We already talked to Saruman, because after the Battle of Helm's Deep, they come to try to barter with him. When they come back here, after the war, on the Many Partings chapter, they have a little chat with Treebeard, and he's like, yeah, I just let Saruman go. And Gandalf's like, come on, dude, really? Treebeard's like, yeah, he's fine. He'll be fine. So they don't actually see Saruman here. They have a little chat with Treebeard, and then, as you'll see, we pass into Dunland. That's when we run into Treebeard we run into Saruman and Wormtongue on the road. So, could be interesting. I don't know. So it is genuinely a toss-up where we're going to go next. It could be the Many Partings chapter. They could sprinkle it around, and the Many Partings thing could become kind of an interlude as we move through the epic story and have little stops along the way, little updates, kind of like we did, and we always do between the big updates, as we did leading up to Gundabad, for example. Or we could just go full... Yeah, I'm going the right way. Could just go full, Rune and the Scouring would be have a lot more appeal and a lot more whiz-bang pow than the subtlety of just going around these old areas. So maybe it'll be a combination. Maybe the next big expansion will be Rune or the Scouring. And then maybe, so what we're doing is we're phasing back in time here, back to Dunland before the Helm's Deep battle. It's like this. So maybe the next big expansion will be Rune or the Scouring or something like that. And then we'll do these little stops along the way. That phasing stuff is so crazy. All right, let's keep it moving here. What I want to get to before we finish, let me get up here to Dunland. I'm the wrong way. And I can't. I think it was Tal Methodris. We'll stop there. That'll be a great stopping point. Because if memory serves, Tal Methodris is where they're camping, and there's that famous scene where Gandalf and Galadriel and Elrond are basically like telepathically communicating, which is interesting. And that's where they see Saruman and Wormtongue and Pippin, being the kind-hearted little hobbit that he is, give Saruman his the last of his pipeweed. I love Dunland. It's one of my favorite parts. One thing they did, some liberties they took with Dunland that I don't think they've done with other areas, is they made it incredibly magical. Let me see if I can show you what I mean. I'll actually pass that way. But like this, even this little hill with the heath fells and the lilacs that are growing there, and then the forest we're about to come into, and then of course the whole thing in Enedwythe with the huntsmen and the gwibbers and all that. It seems like they took that gray area in the lore and really ran with it because, you know, you can't have gwibbers and rogue Ainur roaming around in places like Rohan or Gondor. Those are, although they do have some Ainur and Gondor as well. But they allowed this to be more like, I don't know, almost like, I want to say pagan, where it's more like Celtic, pre-Christian Britain, things like that. They took a lot of those Celtic and early Welsh influences and kind of embedded them in the land and in the stories there. And man, it's just so cool. I think it was a very smart way to do it because they were allowed to take some liberties that they maybe would not be able to take. There we go. This is the coolest tree in the game for my money. Sorry, Treebeard, but this is the one. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. The Slate of Shadows. It's got creepy goats. It's got Illidan lights, and just a giant gnarly tree with like runes and stuff on it. Come on, so cool. All right, we must proceed though. Okay, we're heading in the right direction. Oxys. Tree of Tribute. That's a whole creepy story, too. So imagine passing through this area with our good friends like Aragorn and the Fellowship and the Gallthream and all that. I think it's a great opportunity to present some stories from a different perspective, because so far we've really only gotten this area through the lens of the Dunlendings, which is totally cool. I think it's an underrepresented view, and I like that the LOTRO squad did a good job of presenting things from the point of view of the Dunlendings and some of these other more marginal groups within Middle-earth. There's just not a lot about these guys, and we don't know a lot, so they took the opportunity to expand those. But it would be cool for them to have callbacks to some of the other, some of these quests, but through the Wise, through Elrond and Galadriel and Gandalf and those other characters. I think it would just be really cool. So those are my 2 cents. I think we are, if not as a big update, then at least as a periodic update. So this is phasing because I'm at the part where you have to talk to the Rangers. We're going to get the Many Partings chapter as just kind of like a check back in. So we've had the Three Peaks and Gundabad, which had essentially 0 interaction with the Fellowship. So I think, if not a full expansion, then the next update is going to check back in with the Fellowship and at least begin the Many Partings chapter. And then maybe the next big expansion will take us to the Scouring, or maybe out east to Rune, or maybe Bjorman's right, and we're going to be looking at Harad. I don't know. But anyway, I think we have some stuff to talk about. So the next episode of Beneath Your Feet is going to be about all of this stuff. I'm going to share some of those, elaborate on some of the thoughts I've shared with you guys tonight with a little bit more research under my belt, because I'll take some time to actually, read that chapter of the book again. And that should be put together in the next week or two. I want to thank all of you for checking me out and joining me. You can learn more about the podcast at the blog here, and also on the YouTube channel, which has lots of little goodies on there. You can check out past episodes and shorts and things of that nature. So yeah, thanks for all of you for hanging out with me and for exploring this part of Middle Earth. Cyber Knight, thanks for checking in. I hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you next time when we go Beneath Your Feet. Bye.